From the 11 Alive studios, this is The Georgia Vote with Faith Jesse and Zach Merchant.
Welcome into this special online edition of The Georgia Vote. I'm Zach Merchant.
And I'm Faith Jesse. And since we started this show back in late April, we wanted to make sure that your voices are being heard.
After all, you cannot have the Georgia Vote without Georgia voters. And that's what our Voice of the Voter is all about. Everyday Georgians sharing what matters most to them in their own words.
So we've brought back 4 of our past voices to find out how their views have shifted, if at all, during this historic campaign season.
Snap the ball, I catch it, and I just grab it.
What are some of your biggest concerns?
There's so much going on in the world right now, abroad and whatnot. And of course, we got border issues and, we're divided on that kind of stuff. So that would be probably the 2 biggest things.
Maybe it doesn't affect my business as much with, whether it's high inflation or not, but I know for the guys that work for me and all that, it gouges them really hard, just gas prices alone.
You've shared your worries, you've shared your big issues for this election season. We always end on this. What are you optimistic about?
The rights of women, because I'm being so pro-women, and LGBTQ people.
I'm not a monolith. Women aren't a monolith. African Americans, Black Americans are not a monolith. So I am an independent thinker.
Well, welcome in, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We're so grateful to see you again as we get closer and closer to this election year. And we want to start off the conversation with this question. In one word, what is your biggest issue right now? Coach Boo, we'll start with you.
Oh, wow. Division.
Melita?
Gun control.
Ardra?
Freedom.
Tad?
Geopolitics.
Every one of you picked a different answer. Coach Boo, let's start with you. Why did you choose what you just chose?
I think, Zach, when we first talked about this, I mentioned the last election and what happened then, and I'm afraid that it will be even worse this time at the end of the election.
And Melita, you said gun control is your biggest concern right now. Why?
Yeah, it has to do a little bit of all of this division and all of these guns out and all of this hate. And if we don't control that, then how do we deal with people that is angry and, want to take things in their own hands?
And Ardra, you went in sort of a macro lens here. You said freedom. Why?
I guess I was thinking freedom and equality. Just as a woman, I feel like every day I'm losing more and more visibility. Like I'm not seen. Like every time I hear something that the vice presidential candidate on one side says, or even a presidential candidate on another side, every time I hear them talk, I feel like I'm losing more and more rights. As a woman, as a Black woman, as a business owner, like I'm just not seen. So I just want to be free to be me.
And Tad, you mentioned foreign affairs, world affairs. Your answer comes at a time when conflict in the Middle East is ratcheting up, a war is still underway in Ukraine. Are those the things that are on your mind right now?
Yes, whether it be, global economy or just, overall how the world sees each other. I think we're at a pivotal moment on, which direction we take. Is it more division, kind of similar to what Boo was saying, or is it, coming together and trying to find common ground?
Thank you all so much for your answers. We're going to ask you about this. So the last time we spoke to many of you, so much has changed, right? We saw an assassination attempt on a former president. We saw a candidate drop out of the race, and now there's another candidate for the Democratic Party, as well as a vice presidential candidate, and so many other things that have changed throughout our country. So, and any of you guys can take this question. What has changed for you as a voter from the last time we talked until now?
Oddly enough, I don't think much has changed. I think,
Really?
with the replacement, I think one picked up where, or Kamala picked up where Biden left off, and then Trump is still Trump. So things, changed a lot of different curveballs in there, but kind of were in the same place as we were.
Do you all feel, it looks like you don't feel the same.
I'm so much more hopeful. I'm so much more excited and happy about the change because with Biden, at first it was like 2 old men that really were, it was like, I'm picking this one because he's less of an old fuddy-duddy. Like he's more in line. This fuddy-duddy is more in line with me than the other fuddy-duddy, you know. And then now I have an option for. First of all, young people are so excited about this candidate, where people were saying they weren't even going to vote before. It was nobody to vote for. She came along, and I feel like she breathed some life into it. But she has a respect for the law. She was a prosecutor. She believes in law and order. And so I like that. I like somebody that respects the rules, and that because if we all know the rules and if we all have them, then we abide by them, or we stride toward this more perfect union.
So you're clearly excited that Vice President Harris is now at the top of the Democratic ticket. Melita, we just spoke with you a couple weeks ago, so with your permission, I want to go to Coach Boo now, because we last talked with Coach Boo back in May.
Yeah.
Has anything changed in the way you see this race?
Well, like she just said, I'm happy to see that at least the Democrats have a real candidate. A viable candidate.
Which is not how you felt about President Biden.
No, I did not. And I was really concerned about that. I was concerned on a lot of levels, because I just didn't think they had a legitimate candidate. And you know, thank God for everything that he did for the country and everything else while he was in there. And he's been a great man. Yeah, I know. But I mean, you know, like I said, I don't know. I'm the kind of guy who gets kind of embarrassed when I see things that I saw him doing. Like they'd always have some meme of him falling asleep or falling out of his chair or whatever the case may be, and that was just real troublesome.
So you
I
get
think for
embarrassed
everybody.
about the liar then, too, then, right?
Well, no
okay.
doubt.
Okay.
Yeah, no
As long as we
Yeah.
get equal embarrassment.
There's certainly a lot that's come out by this. What are you most optimistic about this election? Melita, we'll start with you.
I am optimistic. You know what I'm the most optimistic after seeing the vice president debate and seeing how there were moments where they were like, yeah, you know, I was so optimistic. I was like, yes, this is what we need to see more of. And I was really happy. And after that, kind of like a sense of calmness came to me. And I felt, we are going to make it, for sure. We're going to make it.
Ted?
Yeah, kind of piggybacking on her sentiment, I do feel like the vice president debate was more civil, you know, regular room for more civil discourse versus, you know, the presidential debates, how they've kind of gone this round.
Civil discourse. We're running low on time. Ardra, one sentence you're most optimistic about?
About being seen. Women are smart. Women are people. Women are equal.
And Coach Boo, last word to you. Most optimistic about?
I'm around kids all day, and to see the kids excited about the election and all the kids who are like, you know, going out to get registered to vote and that kind of stuff. So that's my optimism.
Melita, you just made this point where you said you really like to see some of those moments of agreement on the vice presidential stage. Tad, you said you liked that too. Why did those moments stand out to you, Tad?
Because I feel like it's more conversations that normal people would have with each other, even if they aren't on the same side of a situation, right? You can call it argument, or you can call it, you know, just regular talking. But they were chatting like normal people versus, you know, going at each other's throats, trying to slander and, you know, chop someone else down.
Do we need more of that, Melita?
Yeah, and you know what I think it really is? It's understanding that we all want the same thing, right? We want to live in a happy country where we can go out, where we can be heard, where we can be who we are, and that we don't have to agree. Maybe we're sitting here and we talk about certain topics. We don't agree with each other, but that doesn't mean that we cannot be together or like each other or have a conversation or come up with things that we go, okay, we want this. You think this, I think this. We might be able to come up with a solution that is good for all of us.
Mm-hmm. But there's some things that we all agree on. School shootings are horrible. And they agreed on things. Natural disasters, when whole towns get washed out, like in Raleigh, you know, Ashford is gone. That's horrible. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. It's horrible.
Right.
And whoever's the president should be there, step in to help, just like our sitting current president did. He called and he said, anything that you need, Kemp, I'm here. What else? Do you have everything that you need for Georgia? That's what's supposed to happen. It's not supposed to go down party lines and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And in fairness, the former president has also been in Georgia. The Senator Vance has been in Georgia.
And the vice president has been in Georgia.
And absolutely, she was here just a few days ago.
And before we move off of the VP debate, because I know where you're going, I want to ask you guys, all of you, but one of you, I believe, watched the VP debate, and that's Coach Boo.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you decide to watch the VP debate?
I'm tired of all the fighting, and I'm embarrassed, really, for our country. When I watch some of these debates, the presidential debates, it's bad. I mean, I think the shots that they're taking at each other just makes everybody look bad. It doesn't make your opponent look bad. It doesn't make you the bigger guy or her the bigger girl or whatever. It's just embarrassing. And so I just decided I wasn't going to watch it. And then, but hearing this, I mean, what I would get out of it is hope. You know, hope that we're going to be able to figure out a way to work together and make it happen.
Do you all think, I think this is a good point to transition here, do you feel like the candidates that are asking for your vote are speaking to the issues that are most important to you, Melita?
I think all of them want to speak to everybody about the things that are hot right now. So everybody wants to talk about women's reproduction and how is that going to affect for abortion. Everybody wants to talk about gun control because we have had some shootings. Everybody was probably going to start talking about climate change and how they're going to work on it, because they are right now making sure that they touch what you want to hear. You know what I mean? It's politics, and that's the problem. I mean, they're all politicians. They're going to tell you what they want to hear. And if they cannot tell you too straight in their faces, in your face, is because they are not want to not agree but not disagree, to make sure that they go like, okay. And so it's always playing the politics game. So
do you
You're seeing
think
a lot
all
of
of them are?
politics.
I don't think so. I think that that's how usually it is. But I think we have one candidate that's only speaking to a certain group of people. And doesn't care about everybody else. I don't think that it's across the board. Like I'm trying to. No, he's very happy that he overturned Roe versus Wade. He brags about it. He wants to kick people out of the country, a country that's full of immigrants, that was based on immigrants, people coming here for freedom, and for the freedom that they came here for, he's trying to take that away. You don't have a right to worship and believe and control your own body. I don't think so. I think that one candidate is speaking to fear, speaking to people's insecurities, and speaking to a segment of the population that he's hoping is big enough to get him in office. And then if not, he's going to fight. I don't agree with it. Now, I think that she may be playing politics, trying to please everybody, or saying it's room for everybody, or offering something for everybody.
And is that playing politics, or is that trying to speak to a grander electorate? Because here in this,
I don't think they're playing politics. You know what I mean? Because I think that they're kind of going down a line. She's saying, I'm going to make the billionaires pay more money. I want women to have control over their bodies. They matter. Women are people too, you know. And I think that, I don't know, I think it's more of a line in the sand than ever before. I think before, in the past, I mean, I've been a part of a whole lot of elections.
But you know what, and that's some issue that some people say, right? The politicians are politicking, as some people say. You say what you want to hear. Tad, I want to ask you, when you're just listening to stuff that you hear on TV, on the news, on social media, are you getting that sense, or do you feel like the candidates are really speaking to the issues that you care about?
There's a lot of pandering on both sides, you know, which kind of, you know, pretty easy to see through for the most part with, you know, the minimal amount of research. For me personally, with the geopolitics stuff that I, you know, care about more so than any, I haven't really heard anything from Kamala about all of it. I think it's not as big of an issue as some of the other stuff that are very important, like some of, you know, y'all's more important ones, less important to me.
Well, your
but,
issues are
but I
very
would say more.
important, too.
My issue is less important than a lot of the. I'm in the minority, for the most part, with my big one. So she spoke less to it. Trump, very outspoken with his opinion on it, and some of it I agree with, some of it I don't. But it's good to know where he stands on it. I would like to hear more from the Democratic side about where they stand on some of these, world issues.
Which issues? Like Palestine, Israel?
The Israel-Palestine one, Ukraine, where are we going with Taiwan?
So foreign policy.
Yeah, just foreign policy stuff I'd like to know much more about, and more in depth, or if there's a plan, because it doesn't seem like there's necessarily a plan on either side.
And I think this is a good time. We're talking about sort of global issues. Let's zoom back to Georgia as we wrap up here. I think maybe one or two questions left, but we have seen a whole lot of politicians on both sides asking for your vote right here in Georgia. A lot of political visits lately. Coach Boo, I see you nodding your head there. Do these visits make a difference to you?
Somewhat. I think more so than the visit here. I think it's what's, like you said, what we're talking about, what is said here. I think a lot of times, it's every time something bad does happen and, somebody gets in a helicopter and flies down there, that doesn't mean that they necessarily care. It's just that's what they have to do. I mean, again, to be a politician, that's what's expected of you. So like I said, I don't pay as much attention to that maybe as other people do. I heard a lot of people saying, well, Trump flew down to Florida, or Kamala came to Atlanta, or whatever the case may be. The bottom line is that, I mean, they have to do that almost, especially when the other one did it. So does that necessarily make it a good thing? Not for me. I try to see through all that.
And Melita, have you paid attention to any of the candidates? I mean, there's been a whole lot of them since we last spoke to you, even in the last few weeks coming down to Georgia.
Yeah, to me, I don't pay attention to that. It's more traffic. Then everybody goes crazy. Right? It's like,
That's an Atlanta
so-and-so is in here.
Especially in Atlanta.
I mean, I'm like, please don't come. I mean, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, of course, they're all coming in here because, again, they're playing the politics game, because that's what they have to do. They go like, hey, I care for you. Not, I care for you. And then meanwhile, we're all stuck in traffic.
Let me ask you this. Oh, and Art, go ahead.
I just want to say, okay, they come. Watch how they come. One comes and throws food at people, and another one comes and shakes hands with people and actually sits and talks to them.
Arthur, to be fair here, nobody has been throwing food
Yes, they have.
during any of these visits recently.
Yes. Yes, I swear. You got to look at a clip that ran on your station. They were handing out.
I've been in a lot of these events.
He was handing out chicken or something, and he was tossing it to people. I just seen it last night. It was pretty disgusting.
I don't think that's true, but this is a good. I mean, I think this is a good point to talk about this, though, because politics can be so divisive, and you all here have different views. You have different opinions. You have different experiences, but you're all here together. You've all shared laughs tonight. You've gotten to know each other a little bit. Do you walk away from this conversation feeling more pessimistic or optimistic about the folks who are going to be casting their ballots in just a few weeks? Tad?
Oh, I kind of found, I like the perspective. I like knowing other people's perspective on that, and I appreciate people more. Whether I appreciate the political campaigns more is still up in the air. Probably not. I still feel like they try to be as divisive as possible, but stuff like this kind of brings you closer to your fellow citizens and, patriots.
And Audra, I believe Zach was telling me that you were an independent before he met you when you were coming into this at the beginning. But it sounds to me you kind of made up your mind on which way you're going now.
Oh, yeah. I definitely made up my mind, but that doesn't mean that I'm a Republican or a Democrat.
You still consider yourself an independent?
Yeah, but I can't vote for the Republican candidate, but I don't have a problem voting Republican. I have voted Republican before. It's not something that I brag about, but twice. I voted for 2 Bushes, because I agreed with their politics and where I was in life, it totally lined up with me. And I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with a Republican. I have a problem with a divisive candidate. I have a problem with someone that doesn't see me as equal or as human. That's what I have a problem with.
And I'm wondering, were any of you all ever undecided at some point in the election the election year? I would say like in the past year, and maybe
I'm
something
always
happened.
undecided. I mean, I'm like her though. I'm an independent, and I tell people all the time. I think that our country has to get away from this,
I agree.
conservative Republican and liberal Democrat. There's got to be something else. There's got to be something at least in between. I call it the sensible independent. And I mean, I just want you to make. I mean, there's, everybody is so bipolar. It's like you're either this or you're this, and there's this big space in between here where a lot of people are. We just need to come together with those people. And I would love to see somebody start a sensible, independent, group that instead of just having these conservatives and liberals. I'm sick of it.
I think it's a good time for a final question here. I'm going to start with you, Melita, and I want to give each of you a chance to answer this. If you could speak to the candidates running right now, 1 or 2 sentences, what would you tell them in these last few weeks before the election day?
To both of them at the same time, you mean?
Sure.
All right. Guys, one of you two is going to win. The first thing that we're going to want to do right here is make sure that we respect the election and that we respect whoever is going to be the winner, because we want to continue to be a democratic country. I come from Venezuela. That did not happen in there. It's not happening in there. So for me, that will be the most important thing to say to them. It's like, please, let's just make sure that we continue to be a democratic nation where our voice is heard and our vote counts.
Audra, your message?
It's all of our country. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And remember, like after this election, we still have this country. Or will we have this country? Does it matter? Do we think about that? Like, what's next? You're only in office for 4 years, 8 years at the most, and we've been a country for how long? And how long do we plan on being one? It's all just, can we take that into consideration?
Tad, your big thoughts?
I would like to see Trump reach out to the people that aren't in the demographic that he's already got the hardcore vote from. And then I would like to see Kamala define her policies more thoroughly than she has, so where she is now.
Coach Boo, the last word to you. These two candidates are sitting in front of you. You tell them what? What's the most important thing to you that they need to hear?
Similar to I guess, some of the things that they said. And my big thing is when it's all over, it's over. Mm-hmm. And so whoever wins, let's now all get together and stop the division, stop the talk, stop all the clamor, and let's be the country that we're supposed to be.
Well, all of this conversation was so insightful, so thoughtful, and we hope that if somebody doesn't learn something, well, somebody obviously will learn something from it and will inspire other people to go out there and cast their vote and make their voices heard.
I have certainly learned a lot through not only this conversation, but our other conversations with you all. We are, as always, so grateful for your time and your thoughts. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.